Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's edition of the afternoon show. My name is Isa Nu. Today, we shall be focusing still on how we can navigate the economic and security challenges that we are having today in the country. And as you know, just recently, the issue of Kaduna State, there's kidnapping of students in Kaduna State, further area is heard. That was yesterday and some days back. And also the issue of soldiers being killed in Delta State has been one of the most saddening events that we've recorded so far during this year. So Nigeria, often hailed as the giant of Africa, boasts a vibrant economic teeming with the diversity and potentials that we have in the country. However, beneath its promising surface lies a tapestry of challenges and opportunities and that shape the nation's economic trajectory. As we delve into Nigeria's economic landscape, it becomes evident that a multifaceted approach is required to unlock its full potential. The Nigerian economy is at its challenging point since independence. All the macroeconomics fundamentals have been moving in not the right direction as we expected, and the performance of various sectors is still on the watch. The 10 months of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with the APC mantra of renewed hope, for now, is still being watched to see how it can take us beyond where we were coming from. So Nigerian unemployment rate recently, as at 2023, was at 7%, with the inflation rate trending at double digit and approaching a runaway level. So lending rates average at about 26%, and with slight difference from what we are having today in the country, with the misery index standing at over 86% as at 2022. And then trying to get just the new update with respect to that in getting the statistics of the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Since independence, the manufacturing sector has never contributed more than 10% to our GDP. That's also not a very good one for our economy, but broadly speaking, the Nigerian economy remains at the primary stage of development in spite of the average growth of 6% between 2017 and 2022. And notwithstanding the true economic recession of 2016 and 2020, the economy has been in a stagflation phase from 2010, and recessions are common features in the economic system that depend heavily on the market. That is the market capitalism. So Nigeria is faced with more security challenges today than ever in our history. The Boko Haram insurgency, the armed militancy, kidnapping, cattle rustling, illegal mining, and mineral thefts, smuggling, nomadic breeders, and farmers' crisis in the north and north central, most especially in the south, and armed militancy, kidnapping, oil theft, and illegal refining, armed robbery, and smuggling contrabands in and out of the country. So these are some of the issues that we are going to be discussing today with our guest, Mr. Samaila Musa, who is presently in Leeds in United Kingdom, to focus more on the state of the nation. So we'll go on a very short break, and when we return, we start up with the conversation. Welcome back from the break. And just before the break, I did inform you that our focus today will be on the mitigating issues that has to do with security and economy in the country. And we'll be joining Mr. Samaila Musa this afternoon. Mr. Samaila, good afternoon, and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. It's nice having you from that particular end of the world, and it is very, very important that I understand that you've, despite the fact that you are not in the country, you've been following up with issues that are gathering storm in the country. So what's your take presently on the recent issue in Kaduna State? The issue of security once more is beating on our door. What is your take with respect to that?
Okay, so the issue of security for quite a long time now has been an issue in Nigeria, and it seems to be taking the dimension of needing rocket science to fix, because it seems various government at various times have actually put in their best, and it seems their best is actually not really working. I mean, if it's working, Nigerians really want to see the results of that. But majorly, I think it might be too early to want to say, okay, let's pass our pass mark on this current administration. They're just nearing 1 year in office. Perhaps they're still studying the terrain, but I don't want to believe that in total, because uh, before you come into government, I believe you know what are the problems, what the issues are. The first thing that is expected of any government, which I think at the first few days or first few months in office was seen on ground, is that to uh, hit the ground running, which the Asuaju's administration did. But in between, just somewhere in between, I don't know where the something is actually missing. But I just don't want to pass a pass mark. They're not even 1 year in office yet, but let's see how long this goes. But you see, when it involves killing, that's where the problem is, because you don't want to experiment with people's lives, you know. So whatever it takes, the government needs to be seen to be doing something very, very urgent, and that has to be seen in the sense that this killing just has to stop. Nobody cares what anybody is doing behind the scene. What people really cares, or what really matters in the long run, is that this killing must stop and it must come to an end. It's too senseless. I mean, for how long are Nigerians going to be killed? And one of the major things that really prove that there's a government in place in anywhere in the world is that the security of life and properties of the citizenry is guaranteed. So, and if that is actually missing, I mean, there's really a problem, and that needs to be addressed. Nigerians actually been suffering this insecurity. And the worst thing is that innocent people who are just going about their livelihood, trying to look for what to eat, are the ones being consumed. So really, you don't really know. And why it's so senseless is that the people who actually were trying to say, oh, they have their own grievance, they've got their own anger, they've got their issues with the government, are actually not channeling those grievances in the right direction. Because does it make sense for you to go after innocent people, or people who are suffering the same fate, to actually vent out your anger? It's really, really, senseless. And I don't really know. In other climes, they're just looking at Nigeria as, just a comedy, or a theater of some sort. It's really sad, and it's quite appalling how this has dragged this long.
Having enough security personnel. Are you of that view?
Take that again. I didn't hear the beginning of when you started.
Some analysts have also argued to the fact that we don't have enough security personnel. That's why it is difficult for the present armed forces, the police, and the civil defense to really manage the security situation in the country. Do you share the same view with them?
Well, in some sense, but honestly, I don't think that is actually the major problem, because you see, in areas where these things are happening, we all know the areas. You bring me the map of Nigeria, and I can just dot the areas out for you. So what amount of security personnel are we talking about? It's not like, oh, this thing is all over the country. There are some states that are still quite safe to a large extent. Some states have actually been in the news for almost forever now in terms of insecurity, and this has been going on years in, years out. I mean, year in, year out, it seems as if there's no anything being done in those regards. So if you say issue of, even if you have 50 million security personnel, they're not going to be in those areas at the same time. You understand? In fact, the more you have them, sometimes it creates more chaos, because it becomes difficult for even security personnel to actually identify some of their own colleagues, or to know who and who, regardless of their numbers. The security, the top brass in the security should know what number is going into this forest, or what number is actually manning where. You're not going to have all of them in the same place at the same time. So really, that might not actually be the major problem. The major problem is that there should be timelines. And we keep saying this, there should be timelines as to what do you want to achieve between now and 6 months. If that is not being done, are you signing an agreement, or you're putting it in white and black to me that you're going to quit the stage? You don't have to be retired, or you don't have to be booted out. If I can't achieve this in 6 months, it means I can't do it. Or in 1 year, if I can't do this, If I can't fix this problem, it means I'm actually not fit for that job. There should be timelines, and that needs to be seen. A lot of people feel this government started on the right footing and they mean business, but that has to be seen. It has to be proven beyond reasonable doubt. And
talk over there from the guests we're having, and but definitely I know he's going to return back to us, but still there are issues, because that of the Kaduna State has been one of the major issues, and that is where what is buttressing that we cannot continue to have this issue reoccurring most for some time now. Even during the Buhari's administration, you notice that Kaduna State has always been on the spotlight. But why this is also very, very important is that the issue may not just be for Kaduna State. We've seen, okay, you are back. So please, you can go ahead, please, with your thoughts.
yes. Okay. So like I was saying, the number is actually not the issue in the real sense of it, because you're not going to tell me the whole of the security operatives that we have in Nigeria is going to move into one state at a go. You're not going to say they're going to move into Kaduna State at a go. They're not going to move into Zamfara State at a go. The numbers you have on ground are enough if they are well equipped. If all the security operatives will join hands together and everyone will play their role, the ones who are saddled with bringing in security reports are doing their job, and in synergy with the ones who are going in for the attacks. These people who are causing this problem, it will amaze you if you get to know their numbers. They're actually very few. So why do you want to have 1 million troops go after just 50 people? It doesn't make sense. So I think it's about being well prepared, being well equipped for the job, and knowing the right thing to do. It's not about having 2 million, 5 million go after 100 people, So, but in the long run, is that, look, what Nigerians want, or what any citizen in any nation of the world is after, is that there should be results. When people are being killed, indiscriminately, almost every day or every time, they're not listening to whatever it is excuse that you're giving them. They just this killing has to stop. And if I happen to be in the one-on-one, be on the one-on-one with the president, I'm telling Mr. President, you know what? If some people need to stop sleeping so as to get results to this senseless killing, let them stop sleeping. If they have to be on pills until result is achieved, they need to stop sleeping. Somebody needs to get to work, and that has to be now. This has prolonged for too long. So really, whatever it takes, the government needs to actually provide or provide solution to this senseless killings.
Okay, we've also noticed that recently some military personnel were attacked and even killed in Delta State. This is something that was very, very appalling, because many Nigerians rose up at that particular point in time to condemn that particular act in Delta State. At the same time, when you discover that you put these security men out to make sure that, yes, lives and property are in place without being exposed to a violent attack and the rest of it, they also at some point, they also get killed. So in this particular case, what do you expect them to do to see that, despite the fact that you are not making them to sleep, they are being attacked also?
They sign up for that. They should be expecting that. What the government needs to do is to bring the perpetrators to book. Things like this have happened in some cases where a lot of them actually got away with it. It's going to repeat itself. When people are getting away with criminality, that is what you keep getting all the time. There needs to be some scapegoats. Some people need to be set as example that you don't attack constituted authorities, people who have the backing. The people you kill, they are agents of the government. You need to set, very clear and make very bold statement with those kind of issues. Like, some other people might even get away with other sinister issues, but not when you kill agents of government who are out there to do the right thing. to do the job. I mean, these people are not involved in whatever crisis you're having. They are peacekeepers, and if they've come to do their job and then you attack them, people need to be brought to book. Wherever they're hiding, wherever they've run to, you need to fish them out, and it has to be said. You need to expedite that action. You need to expedite the judgment, such that people who actually are nursing that kind of thing at the back of their mind, that kind of criminality, will know that if there's anything that the government doesn't even joke about at all, is that when they put out people or they send people out on national assignment, they protect them with the whole of the arsenal that Nigeria has got in its armory. So really, if you don't set quite clear messages and examples, this kind of things will keep happening. They need to be brought to book, and it has to be immediately.
But in following up to that particular issue, because we've seen several situations whereby some of these culprits are brought to book, but then at the same time, again, we don't actually follow up to really see the end of them. But then, let me ask you, are you satisfied so far on how we manage perpetrators of this particular act? Looking at the criminal justice
No,
system.
there's no any we're not, nobody is satisfied with that. How many people have been brought to book, and we see how the court proceedings were going. How many people? All we keep hearing all the time is that issuing statements. I mean, governments in the past have been issuing statements condemning the act, but what comes after condemning the act is actually the message people want to hear. It's not just saying that we condemn in total. No, is what is it that you did to these people? Quite a lot of times, and it's appalling to me when people who have confessed to a particular crime, when you're showing them in the news, you're even hiding their faces. And I don't really know what is the technology or what is the wisdom behind that. You're still hiding criminals who have confessed to a particular crime. Why should you be blocking their faces from the public? Why should you be hiding how the proceedings has been going on? It shouldn't be done. So that's why people are actually grumbling. That's why whenever issues like this happen, people just be like, come on, please, we've gone through this route. I mean, it's like a been there, done there kind of issue. Like, we already know what's going to be the outcome. But when you actually make it public that these are the people being caught, these are their confessions, these are the result of our investigations, and this is the verdict of the court, this is the final judgment, and it's being carried out, and making it public in the public glare of all Nigerian citizens, people will begin to have more confidence. It builds confidence that government is actually doing something. But when you keep hiding it, or in some cases some of them will escape, or in some cases you make some plea bargain with some of them, and they get reintroduced back into the system, and they go back into criminality, and that's why it erodes the citizenry's confidence in the government that it's actually there to protect their lives and property, and people are actually losing hope. And that's why you see a lot of people, is either people are running into neighboring countries, or people who are well to do are actually jetting out of Nigeria, or the ones who are actually right there inside the country are actually saying there's no hope for any common man anywhere. Yeah, I mean, and it's gradually even leaving the shores of the common man. Even the high and mighty are getting a dose of this kind of criminality going on. Kidnappings and all that. Nobody is actually being spared these days, except people who have enough money to have like 3 truckloads of mobile policemen who follow them, or military who follow them all around the place. But you see, so it doesn't give people confidence to say, like, I mean, we saw in the days just recently how even the big shots, security personnel, want to travel between Abuja and Kaduna will have to go with the option of the train, because they themselves cannot even guarantee their safety on the roads. So really, it's that bad. And something has to be done. And the message always and now is that something has to be done now, like yesterday. That's what Nigerians are after.
Okay, if you take a very good analysis on how much has been spent generally, let me say from even 2015 down to this particular point, with respect to the budget that was made available to the defense ministry, and then you compare the activities that they've carried out over time. Can you say that it is still commendable that we keep up with that particular budget?
Well, honestly, I'll tell you that we as Nigerians are even not much particular about budgets, to be honest with you. We're more particular about the results, because when you put them on a scale, you'll find that there are people who, a lot of Nigerians who are just minding their own business, who are just going about their livelihoods, don't even care what is in the budget. They don't even care how you spend the money. I tell you that those are in their large numbers who don't care how much money Nigeria is got or doesn't have. All they want is an atmosphere where they can do their own business, run their own business, be able to go to the farm and come back without being intimidated or being at the risk of being whisked away or being killed, or go to the market and come back, or a civil servant who just want to just take an Okada from his house to the office and come back. A lot of those in those category don't care how much you budgeted for anything. All they care about is to say that, oh, now we know there's security all over the place. Now we know we can do these things without any fear. That's what they care about. So when you place the budget on a scale with what is being achieved, honestly, it's actually not desirable. It's not desirable. We are after results. If you tell us that, oh, you have tripled the budget so that you can actually achieve this, that also should come with a process. There should be a follow-up. There should be accountability, that this is how much you have injected. This is the reason why we have to hike, or we have to increase the budget by so percent, so that to cater for X, Y, and Z. And this is the result. So I think that is what is most important.
Okay, I remember that after the kidnapping of students from Kajuru local governments in Kaduna State, the kidnappers released a video stating that they are demanding for 1 billion naira, of which the president declined, that he's not going to affirm to that particular statement made by the kidnappers. So for some time, we've been having this issue of kidnappers seeking for ransom. And then if you look at what is happening in Haiti now, where you have those termed to be thugs leading the country, are you not afraid that if we continue in this particular manner of paying money to kidnappers and the rest, we may be pushing ourselves towards that particular danger post?
Of course, we are already tilting towards that. I mean, they are already reigning. The criminals are already reigning. They are all over the place, dictating to our government, almost bringing the government to its knees, to a round table discussion. You know what I mean? If you want to prove to anybody that you're serious, if you want to have a roundtable discussion with any criminal, you have to go from the position of strength. That's what is obtainable all over the world. If you go from the position of strength, you have to affirm that you're still a government and you're not going to take nonsense. You're here for business. This has to stop. What exactly do you want? If it's something you want to go into negotiations with, you feel you can afford it, to say it's a one-off thing, and let's sign an agreement. The next time this is happening, we're wiping you out. You have to be very serious about whatever negotiations you're having with any criminal. Otherwise they're going to bring you down to your knees and you're going to be begging them. And the more you beg them, the more powerful they become. And when you get to a particular pinnacle which they're trying to walk you towards, they're going to take over the government from you, because they know each time you're coming to a negotiation table, you're coming on your knees, and they're going to further they're going to break you down at that negotiation table in such a way that you are almost saying to them, we run the government together. You understand? So really, you need to be very serious about any kind of negotiations you're having. And enough is enough of people going behind. I know there are desperations here and there when your own people, because if you want to say, oh, don't give them ransom, what about if it happens to you? Families are losing loved ones. They don't care selling all their belongings to take ransom, because if government seems to be helpless, people will want to go and pay the ransom on their own, even sell all they've got. So Government is also forced to say, well, you don't have to go that route. We will take care of it. In what dimension? If government is now left with just the option of paying ransom, then it means we are finished. And that's why you need to find other alternatives to whatever negotiations you're going to get to, and say, we're not going to pay ransom, but we're willing to negotiate with you in whatever way you want it. If you have some grievance, bring it to the table. We're going to look into it. But to be paying ransom, it's over. It's not going to happen. You know, so once you start having,
it is in the right direction of not accepting their stand that they should be given money.
Ransom. Say that again, please.
I said the president. It means the president is in the right direction by standing firm that no money exchange.
Exactly. There's not going to be any money exchange, but at the same time, it has to be a double approach. As you're saying, no money is going to be exchanged hand with anybody, with any criminal. At the same time, you're coming with the big stick and you are wiping them out. It has to stop. That is all. We are becoming like a country of mockery around the world. Like we're not serious about what we're doing. So if you're denying them of any money exchanging hands, it has to be a double approach. Keep wiping them out, so that it's sending a strong signal to people. There are quite a lot of jobless Nigerians out there who are saying it, that it's actually a very lucrative industry. The way to make money in the fast way or the quickest now in Nigeria is to take up arms. If you allow people in a higher percentage than we're having now, resorting to that is really a big problem to the country. And that's why it has to stop. It has to be seen like it's a suicide mission. It's actually not a venture for making money. Nobody is succeeding in that venture anymore. It's a thing of the past. If that is not being put in place, then it's a problem.
Do you think this particular act is becoming so difficult for the Nigerian, let me say, security apparatus to be able to put a stop to it? Why do you think it is so difficult?
Honestly, because they really don't let us into their internal workings. So I really won't know what exactly they are doing wrong, because sometimes what you think they are not doing right might be one of the things they actually are already doing, or they've already put in place, which is not working for them. But in all is that, look, they are trained for that job. And if you feel you are not achieving any results, you need to seek help. The reason why you need to seek help and drop all ego is that, think about the people who are dying. Think about the families who are losing their breadwinners to this criminality, who are losing their loved ones to this criminality. And that is the reason why you want to just go do everything in your power to stop it, apart from making it a lucrative venture. That's by exchange of money. Do all other things. If you need to seek international help, if you need to seek internal help, whatever it is, look outward, look inward, wherever it is that you feel you need help, please drop your ego and seek for help, because for the sake of the people who are dying in their hundreds on daily basis, it has to stop. That's the message, and it has to be very clear.
Okay, Samaila Musa will be going on a very short break, and I will still expect you, and there are several questions we would like you to respond to just after the break. So let's go for this break, and when we return, we'll be asking Samaila Musa more questions, most especially as it concerns the issue of food security and the economy as a whole, on how you think we need to gear up things while we await also the commencement of selling of petrol from the Port Harcourt refinery. So let's take this break, and when we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
Our first efforts at democracy and self-government were abruptly arrested for the betterment of the country. We must not allow that episode to repeat itself. The new system that we'll have adopted presents us with yet another opportunity to achieve national integration, which is a prerequisite for the building of a strong and virile nation.
Okay, welcome back from the break. And just before the break, we're having a conversation on the issue of the state of the economy, and I'm also looking at relevant issues that took place within the week, most especially the kidnappings that took place in Kaduna State, and that of the killing of military men in Delta State. And we've been discussing with the National Coordinator of the Grassroots Mobilization Initiative, Mr. Samaila Musa, who is now in Leeds, United Kingdom, following up the trends in Nigeria and then providing all the needed answers to the question. So, Samaila, let me quickly take you, since we are not yet done with the security aspect of the conversation, because now we are delving into the issue of food security. Just recently, the president was able to commission some agri projects in Niger State. And that has to do with the issue of the inflation in terms of the cost of food in the country. Where if you look at the Northeast, you discover that for some time they've been having issues of Boko Haram. Despite the fact that effort has been put in that particular region, we are still not having that comfort we used to have in terms of getting food at an affordable price. So what do you think the president will really have to do in order to see that, yes, we have bumper harvest in terms of food security, so that Nigerians can be able to go back home, eat comfortably, and sleep well?
Okay, so first, I think one will need to commend the governor of Niger for coming up with that lofty idea. Niger State is actually the largest, in terms of land size in the whole of the 36 states in Nigeria. And you're wondering, you're asking yourself, if you have this kind of land, just fallow and all that, what are people actually thinking? What do they think they want to transform if they are contesting for governor and they're not thinking in the direction of agriculture? And I think the man there has actually done well for himself with those lofty ideas. And you need to commend the presidency for also backing such ideas up. And I think the president displays some seriousness in terms of, because when he said the Ministry of Agri, I think there's another name that has to do with I think food security, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, or something like that. Food security, yes. Right? Yeah. So I think it's actually the right move in the right direction, especially at a time like this. And that's why I said earlier that it might be too early to want to, bring the scorecard and start picking. But I think also one of the things that the president has done is putting somebody there. The Minister of Agriculture is a gentleman who knows his onions. Is the man who is widely traveled, who studied outside Nigeria, who is gone to climes or who have studied in climes where things are actually working. You can call him an accidental politician, but these are people who really know what it takes to actually transform sectors like that. And I've seen quite a number of projects going on in that sector in that regard. Even though he's a very quiet man, he's not been making too much about what's going on in the agricultural sector. But I think those are, right steps in the right direction. It will take us close to a year from now to be able to actually give them a pass mark, or to mark them, either mark them down or mark them up, based on some of the things they've started doing in that ministry. But you see, there's so much hunger now in the land. So beyond even how much the president has taken that as a priority, food, agriculture and food security, with what has happened so far in the few months they have spent in government, it is now that they need to even pay more attention to that sector or to that ministry, to say, look, if there's anywhere or whatever it is that Nigerians are going to mark us first and foremost with, it's going to be that ministry. If anybody is going to say, oh, the Asiwaju's administration has done well or not, it's actually going to start from that ministry. Because to a common man or to whoever, food should be number one. If you are trying to ask a hungry man a question, I'm sure you're not going to get the better part of him, because the hunger must have taken you know, the 90% of this grain off. So really, they need to do more. What they met on ground has actually, with what's happening to our to dollar to naira rates now, has actually compounded the problems they met on ground. So if there's any place that needs more attention or more seriousness outside the insecurity issue that we're battling with, the next phase is going to be, or the next thing is agriculture. You don't want to compound people's problem who are suffering from insecurity to say they can't even find food to eat. You understand? So the presidency and the Ministry of Agriculture and whoever, or partner organizations or international donors need to come together to say we need to save this country from insecurity as well. You want to provide, whether you're going to subsidize it, because I think at this time, if there's anything like subsidy, it should come into food. Because when people can't afford to buy one meal per day, then you're in serious crisis. So one of the things the presidency needs to look into is how to subsidize the price of food first and foremost. I don't know from what end they're going to take that up. I don't know if the removal of subsidy from petroleum is going to go into food. Whatever formula they think but something has to be done now, because most of the people crying now are saying they can't even buy food with what they've got with them anymore. People who are spending 1,000 naira per day, 5,000 cannot even cater for that anymore. So if there's any sector that needs urgent attention, I think the president needs to even declare a state of emergency in that sector if he hasn't done so already. So all hands have to put on deck to make sure. And I saw one of the things the office of the vice president has done is actually to call for some stakeholders meeting with the major producers of fertilizer. I know they've called Indorama, they have called Notori, and they've called Dangote also to look into how they can actually combat those issues. And I think those are the right way to go. Those are the right steps in the right direction. But more needs to be done, especially now when we're having this crisis already.
Okay, I'll take it from your last word. More needs to be done. But then, if you look at what is also happening in the country with the way things are changing, there's this perspective we always have that all we do at the end of the day ends up with the president. Do you think we've given that same pressure to the governors across the 36 states of the country? Are they actually giving the federal government that needed support for them to see that, yes, they ease the activities amongst the citizens of their state also?
No, we have not been putting pressure on the state governors. Unfortunately, I don't know why Nigerians' brains are wired in that way. There is so much that when your governor, and I said this in a lot of fora when we're having some of these issues about headsmen issues and all that, and I said state governors are collecting security votes on a monthly basis. There is no state that is asking questions on how that money is being disbursed. And we saw also in Nigeria when a particular godfather in Oyo State was saying, look, the security of the state is actually in my hand. And I challenged the governor to tell me who is giving the money if I'm not getting the penny, because I hold the security. I'm the one who says there's going to be peace in this state and there's going to be peace. I'm the one who controls all the thugs. So if none of us is getting a penny, we need to challenge him to say where is he spending this money to. And the man was right, even though you might feel, enough of thuggery and all that. So, and I said, and I put it to the governors that if there are issues between farmers and herders, and you can remove out of the fraction of the security votes being given to you to say, I have my complaints. They went into my farm and they ate all my farm products. You can call the farmer and try to compensate him from the security votes being given. If it's the farmer who is saying, the herder who is saying, they rustle all my cows, you're going to save the state a lot of insecurity issues if you go in that direction, in the sense that a lot of the people who went back and started kidnapping were people who got their cows rustled. A lot of the people who went into criminality were people who got their farms vandalized, and they feel the government is not how to help them. So what do they need to do? They also need to take up arms. So some of the governors, state governors, need to be put on their toes to say, what exactly are you doing to ease the pains of your citizenry, to ease the pains of the economic hardship going on in your states? A lot of them are hiding under the guise of, oh, it's the presidency that controls everything. It's not true. We've seen where so many other funds were being disbursed to state governors. Is it from the Paris Club issue, where a lot of these monies end up in private pockets and nobody's asking questions? All our searchlight is actually focused towards the presidency. The presidency cannot be everywhere. You need to hold your state governors also to account for every penny they're collecting from the central, and let them give you up to date on how they're spending these monies. A lot of these governors even go as far as, it's as if what the House has called adache with the security funds. Those ones are an area you don't even ask them. They know if I'm collecting 10 billion per month, I can have an adache of 9 billion because I know nobody is asking any question. This one is my own private money. So we are getting into that realm. And that is very, very dangerous terrain, because if the presidency is saying, oh, I can't be in your states at the same time, so the governors should take so X amount of money, and the governors are keeping silent about it, it's wrong. And every state needs to wake up and start asking these questions. They want to know. In fact, a lot of people are not interested in how much their state governors is collecting from the central. And that is where some of the problems are.
Let me quickly ask you this, and this will serve as our rounding up question. Just in 30 seconds, I would like you to respond to this. What do you think, or let me say, the way the present central bank governor has managed the issue of the forex and the rest of it that has to do with how they disburse money in the past and now? Are you satisfied with what he has done so far to manage the economy in its own aspects?
Well, one would not say really satisfied per se, but just lately I saw some reforms, and I think, it's good to sanitize the system. I saw the number of bureau de change licenses that were being seized or being revoked. I think if you feel, and that also contributed a lot. We've seen in the past where these licenses were just being dished out. Some people have even 10, some people have 5. It's just like a compensation in government, where people who it's not even their business to be in a bureau de change, they are just collecting those licenses for the purpose of actually money laundering, and all other criminalities, which is very, very bad. And we saw some of the criminalities that were being perpetrated recently or in the last administration, where bureau de change guys were involved, and I'm sure quite a number of them are still in detention right now with the DMI, the headquarters of the Directorate of Military Intelligence, where monies are being siphoned through them from Dubai. Some terrorism funding and all that. So I think lately, a few weeks back, the CBN started taking the right, using the right approach to actually sanitize the system.
Thank you so much, Samaila Musa, for joining us today on the afternoon edition and giving us your views on how you think the state of the nation is, and how we can also move forward. You also proffer so many solutions, because the issue of security is one aspect that we need to really manage for us to progress as a nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So this is how far we can go today on the afternoon edition, discussing with Samaila Musa, who is the national coordinator of the Grassroots Movement Initiative in Nigeria, also based presently in the United Kingdom, giving us his views on how we can manage our affairs here in the country. And this is how far we can go. My name is Isa Nu. Have a wonderful day and stay blessed.